still hadn't come in. So I thought if it was the same or less money, that I could just go ahead and get what was available. As it was less money, and warranty was good, still 5 years, and it was going to be $1,300 and some odd dollars cheaper. At the time, it wasn't available when I initially requested it. So I went ahead and told them I needed two, and I was going to pay for one out of commissary because the bearings went out of it. Well, I didn't know I had to have approval.
If everyone's, are we online? I forgot to ask that. Sorry. If everyone's ready, before we start this meeting, if it's okay, I'll lead us in a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this time you've given us. Lord, I just ask your blessing upon this county, ask your blessing upon this government body. Lord, we just ask that you give us the ability and the wisdom to make the right choices for this county. Thank you for all you do for us continually. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Call this meeting to order with saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sounded pretty nice. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We will start today's meeting with the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
There we go. I have a second. No other discussion. Roll call, please.
Davenport.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Wilcutt.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Holden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes. Well, we don't have, normally we have a adjustment to the agenda, and we don't have that, so I kind of got off pace there. Next up, we have a representative from Brad. Sorry, my computer decided to lock up on me. This is Miss Emily Hathcock.
You got it.
I wanted to call it something else, but that's it. Welcome.
Thank you. You all should have some slides in your handouts this morning. I am just here to give you kind of a preliminary rundown of planning and zoning. I know you guys have been looking at that. This is just a brief introduction to kind of what that means. And what it could be for the county. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's planning, a little bit about what zoning is, the benefits of them, and kind of who's who in that space. So what is planning? And I've pulled some definitions on your slide, both from KRS and from the American Planning Association. But really what those definitions boil down to is planning is a process, and it's meant to maximize health, safety, well-being, but it is just the process. So then looking at that, it's more than just land use. It's also things like industrial improvements, transportation improvements, safety, residential areas, parks, recreation, government, retail, all kinds of things are incorporated into that planning component of it. You also currently have 2 county level comprehensive and strategic plans that have goals in them related to planning and zoning. In a cursory way, they may not say that verbatim, but in their essence, that's kind of what they're pointing to. So in your comprehensive plan, which is the Logan County one, the most recent one I could find was 2015 to 2021, and goal 1 there was to promote Logan County as a place for commerce and industry. In your county strategic plan, you have an economic development goal to improve and promote Logan County as a place for commerce and industry, as well as to increase the affordability of housing for low to moderate income levels, including housing for elderly and disabled populations in your housing goals. And both of those do really tie into planning and zoning pretty nicely. So we've talked a little bit about planning. Let's take a look at what zoning is. So if planning is that process to kind of decide what areas and what types of development and what you really want your community to be, zoning is the tools to achieve what you put in place in planning. So again, I've pulled you a definition from KRS. It is very lengthy. I'm not going to read it to you, but I have it here for your reference. It really just boils down to, though, zoning is your regulatory arm for your planning piece of it. So zoning divides land into categories. Each category has its own regulations. The zoning codes are the legal tool that kind of help you decide what can be built within those categories. And typically, when you're putting this together, planning and zoning both are a tool to help you protect what you have. So I really want you to kind of look at it that way, because if you have nothing right now, it gives you the opportunity to decide, hey, as a county, this is what we want to be. This is how we want to stay Logan County. This is what's important about our community, and this is what we value. And that's how you can put those boundaries in place. So benefits of planning and zoning: improved quality of life. They give you a framework for growth. They get you the ability to outline, hey, we want things in these areas. They lessen the negative impacts from development. It also requires a ton of public input, so it makes you do that engagement piece. And it also allows you to do some better resource utilization. So there are levels to planning and zoning. You can go all out, and you can go Warren County and get a book that's 300 pages deep of what all you want. But you don't have to at all. You can go bare minimum too. So bare minimum for the KRS says that the county fiscal court can act as your planning commission, and that is typically in relation to subdivision regulations. And that's kind of the bare minimum. And then you can go more from there. If you go deeper from that, you're going to need a county level planning commission with people on that board that kind of make those objective determinations as to what fits within that zone and what doesn't. So that's really fast and dirty and high level of what planning and zoning is as an introduction. Do you have any questions? I will preface that by saying I am not an attorney and do not provide legal advice.
Did I understand?
Go ahead.
Did I understand you to say that if the fiscal court works at a minimum, it mainly just affects subdivision planning?
So the KRS reg for that says that a county who does not wish to establish a formal planning unit can adopt regulations for subdivision of land within boundaries. So I would say yes, but again, I am not legal, so run that by your attorney.
That sounds right. Language that you use. No, I'm very thankful for putting all this, putting all this together.
Right, we have that already in place.
Yeah, we've already got the subdivision board, and we have a board that
Nice.
does the subdivision zoning, I guess.
Yeah.
Or,
In the reason that Emily and I had several discussions about this in meetings at Brad, and the reason I wanted her to come in is basically just to kind of give us an overview of what planning is, what zoning is, what relationship Brad can do to help us get these intact. As she said, there's all kinds of levels. We don't want those super strict levels, that's the ones that scare people about zoning, planning and zoning. That's not the purpose of this at all. So I want to make that publicly clear right now. That is not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to just see where we're at, see what we can do, and increase and grow the community as needed.
so like a lot of places around us, we're ag. So having planning and zoning would be to the effect of everything ag stays the same. Nothing changes. If you have ag and it's zoned as ag, you still operate as the same as you have in the past, 200 years. But if you want to change your property from ag to industrial or to something other than ag, then you have to go through that process.
Correct.
Yes.
So I think that's my goal, on planning and zoning. I don't know about everyone else's. But
And without regulations like that in place, like if you have nothing, right, and you have a farm and no one wants to continue that farm, they want to sell it off, there are no protections for what locates there. So you can have a processing facility, you can have a dump, you can have it right next to your grandma's house, you could have it right next to a daycare. There are no protections for you in place that say this can't locate there.
timeline-wise, I know you've seen counties go from nothing to having something. timeline-wise, if we were to say, okay, we want to lay out what I just mentioned, you know, ag, and you can change it from ag to something else, you have to go through the process. Like timeline-wise, how long will it take a county to get that process moving, or to set up that scenario? I mean, we just have to have a board that approves that? Or?
So I'd have to go back and pull the KRS to give you the definite times on it, but there are some required public engagement pieces of so many public hearings that are so long apart. Shooting from the hip, conservatively 6 months, probably more likely a year to get you all through that and get everything settled and kind of legal. But again, shooting from the hip.
You know, Todd County's doing this right now, and several of us have talked about this. I'm really paying attention and really watching how they do, and the level that they're looking at is probably a better interpretation of what we are talking about. Like I said, we're just kind of watching that, and then like the big thing I wanted to just bring Emily in to give the reassurance that if we decided to do this is something that they could help us with and move us in the right direction and make sure we have all of our T's crossed and I's dotted.
Yeah. I really don't want to wait until after Todd County's complete before we start the process, but personally.
Well, the thing is, they've got a pretty good jump on us right now, so we may.
Okay. So we got to wait much longer.
Yeah, I'm kind of watching what they're doing, as I said, just trying to figure out which way they go. Yes, ma'am.
Well, what Tyler just said is very, very, very astute. Because I've had people call and say, what kind of restrictions do we have?
Correct.
Especially up with us, it's just moving toward Warren.
Correct.
County. And I am very concerned about how to answer that question.
Correct, and that's the whole purpose of this. Is, you know, it's all about protecting the landowners and the property owners and the neighborhoods from foul odors and all these things that we've been trying to avoid coming into this county. It's not that we want to tell someone what to do with their land, or how to do. It's just to protect the landowners.
Well, it needs to make it even.
Exactly.
So that we don't have a sudden, oh, when did this happen?
Exactly.
Which is what happened.
Absolutely.
And when you start this process too, I think it's important to note that whatever is existing as a use at time of start, you're not going to come in and say, oh, well, you have been operating as this thing for the past 150 years, but we've now all of a sudden zoned to where you're not legal to do that anymore. It doesn't work that way. So you're really saying this is what exists now, and we're putting those protections in place. You can put some things in to where it's like, hey, if this property ever sells in the future, we might want to reconsider what this is, but we're not going to change anything as long as it's current now. Does that make sense?
Yes. So if we had someone that wanted to expand, for example, a garbage dump,
Yep.
they have to go through you?
Not through us. We're not the legal. You would have a planning commission through your county, and they'd have to go through that. Normally what happens is the planning commission reviews it just on pass or fail. Yes, it meets regs. No, it doesn't. If it hits the no, it doesn't, they can ask for basically an exemption, and that would have to come before the next level of review, which typically is you all. But again, it's how you lay out your process when you set up that initial legal way.
Meaning you, the person wanting to do this.
Oh, meaning me, the person that wanted to, if I were the dump owner and I wanted to expand, I would have to come before your planning commission, unless that expansion is on property that's already zoned appropriately.
Correct.
So like if I am existing right now in a 1 block area and I'm a dump and I'm right next to residential. We'll do super worst case scenario. I'm right next to residential. And I want to buy out my neighbor's property that is zoned residential, but I am a dump. I couldn't expand my dump onto that with it being residential unless I got it rezoned. So I would have to come before the planning commission and say, hey, I want to buy this for purpose of this thing, and I want to rezone it. And then you all would have to decide if that's an okay thing to rezone to.
So our zoning already protects that.
I don't know your current zoning code, so I can't answer that.
No.
No countywide zoning.
No countywide zoning.
Well, actually,
Cities have zoning, county has
a
zoning.
garbage dump is actually a bad example because we do have regulations on that. So,
That's
Good.
my question.
but let's not talk about that today
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
already have stuff that
Well,
addresses.
Perfect.
my question was, is that affected by this? That was my question, Joe, was is what we have in place already covering? Because I've had lots of questions about that. And so I needed to come to you first then.
No, we just have regulations about dumps that if they meet those requirements, we passed some in 2008, I believe, and Nathan can probably help get you the specifics on that. But I'm just saying, for what she's up here for, a garbage dump isn't the best example, because we have different things that aren't necessary planning and zoning that would address
A
that.
good relatable example that you've probably heard of in the past would be, say that there's 1,000 acres of farmland that someone wants to start leasing out for solar panels. Okay. So in order for that to happen, it would have to go through the zoning commission, and it would have to be zoned as no longer agriculture, but rezoned as manufacturing, because now you're manufacturing electricity. So in order for that to take place, the zoning commission would have to approve it, to be a hearing, and the public could come and,
Weigh in.
and say, the neighbors could be like, heck no, I don't want to look at solar panels, So that's where I think more of a, maybe a relatable example
For this.
for this.
Okay. Thank you. That was good.
Along that line,
explanation.
though, does it automatically, if somebody wants to convert farmland to solar, is that an automatic change from agriculture? That's one question I've had. Meaning like, well, if I'm raising sheep around all that, those solar panels, am I still agriculture? I guess that's. I guess that's where the definition has to get down into the weeds on the planning and zoning.
You'd have to.
I think somebody could argue, like, I'm still agriculture, I'm raising livestock. They're just raising livestock around panels, so that's sort of a mixed use deal, but it looks like it could be a gray area between, like, well, I'm really not leaving agriculture, I'm just, I don't know. A question I wanted to ask, I guess, Emily, is in the Brad region, which I guess is what, 10 counties. How many of those 10 have planning and zoning? Obviously Warren County, but what about the
Countywide, Warren County.
Just Warren County?
Yeah.
In the 10 counties?
In the 10 counties, countywide, right now it's just Warren. I can tell you Hart is looking at it to also do, and Edmondson has been looking at it.
But Simpson.
What about Simpson? Yeah, I thought Simpson had countywide.
Simpson has some, but it's primarily still city limits.
Okay.
They have a city-county planning commission, but the bulk of their stuff is still City Franklin.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who.
Barron County, I guess, is the same way.
Yeah, theirs is. They have a commission, but they don't have the planning out in the county. They do that for all of the cities within, but it's still not outside. Yeah. You're welcome.
And I wasn't saying, your example was wrong, but I had wondered that, meaning, like, is that like a mixed situation there?
Chris, my thought on that would be that in the area, it wouldn't be mixed. You would either be conducting a prohibited or an allowed activity or not. So if you were mixed, only the mix that was allowed would be in there. So if a solar farm wasn't acceptable for an agricultural region, they could just raise sheep there. But existing solar farms, like she said, would be grandfathered in for at least current owners. I think they're called conditional use permits maybe, and they expire once you sell the property or you discontinue for more than, I think, a year or something like that.
I've just wondered, if you have to get pretty particular about defining that, when you...
I think agriculture probably is pretty specific about what it is, so unless you're a house or something that's specifically agriculture. But again, I don't know, but that's my thought of it.
Well, that's what you just answered, I think.
I think Chris was just curious that if, someone put in a solar farm and they also, had sheep that was grazing amongst the solar farm, would that still be deemed as agriculture? But what Joe is saying is technically, you either one or the other. If you have solar panels, just because you got sheep on there, don't make it agriculture. You're still producing electricity as a manufacturer. So is that right, Joe?
That's what I was getting.
Okay.
I think my understanding of it would be is there are permitted things that you can do in this, and so the agricultural permitted thing would be the raising sheep.
Right.
But just because you do something permitted doesn't mean you get to do something prohibited.
Right, gotcha.
So if it's been deemed manufacturing for the solar,
There might be something in there that says you can still have livestock amongst the solar panels or something, but not in the reverse.
like an addendum. Is that what you mean?
You know, I think these are all discussions we can have later. We don't need to waste court time talking about this stuff right now. I mean, I think this is all something, right now, we just need to start pushing. If this is the direction that the court decides to go, these are all questions we can come
And you
up
can
with.
get a
What I'm getting
specific
for
or-
is
Right.
People watch this,
I
and
understand.
then they have a question,
I
and
understand.
it'd be nice to have an answer.
Yes,
That's all.
you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. You're
You're
absolutely
welcome.
right. But these are all questions that can come up later and be done. I don't
Okay.
think we need to waste court time on this right
You don't
now.
mind one more question?
Yes,
Judge?
sir.
I guess, assuming the court takes steps pushing forward on this, can you explain what Brad offers in the way of assistance?
Yes, so we can do kind of as little or as much up into the legal point. We do not have legal on staff, and we would recommend that you use your own local legal for that too. So we can do a little bit and just check in and kind of minimum hand holding. If you want us to completely walk you through the process, we can do that as well, as far as organizing the meetings and outlining everything and say, hey, this is the things that you need to look at. That level would probably result in an additional contract with us, just to make sure that we have the dedicated staff and time to get that for you. Without going back to my budgeting, I can't tell you like how much that contract would be, but I can pull those numbers if that's something that you're interested in.
But you all do write an initial, can help counties with an initial draft?
Yes.
Yes. And that was the whole purpose of bringing Emily here today, to show that we do have support there for this. If
And we
decide
can
to go
pull
that way.
your surrounding counties and say, this is what they're doing, this is what Todd did, this is what Simpson has, and let you kind of cherry pick a little bit and say, hey, this is good, but we would tweak it this way.
Exactly.
So we have a repository of those kind of ordinances too, that we can provide access to.
And I would also say, just if you wanted to see the process at work and not drive very far, some of the cities do have, a
Yeah.
version of this. I would say they might go farther than what you all necessarily want to start with, but you can at least see the hearing process at work. Stuff where
For
they're,
example, Auburn.
yes, well, Auburn and City of Russellville does it,
Yeah,
so they
city
might,
does.
they might have somebody challenging a fee they got for having their grass too tall. That might not be something you all want to do, but you could at least see that process at work.
Exactly. This is just preliminary stages, just trying to lay out everything, and then all those questions that we have, these are questions we haven't worked through yet. We have to work through all those questions, and we have to come up and bring those up later. It's not something we can answer today because we don't know what level that we're talking about. Right now, we're just like I said, bringing Brad in to show us that they can support us and help us take care of this. Brad's a very good partner to all counties in this region. They're very good partners to us, and that was the whole purpose of that. So, all right.
Any other questions?
Any more questions?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Emily, thank you very much.
Absolutely. My contact is on the last one. If you end up having questions, feel free to shoot me an email.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Next up, airport member George Offutt will give an update on the Russellville-Logan County Airport.
Yeah, we just, since our last airport board meeting and some decisions that was made and everything, the board felt like, of course, we had decided definitely to try to keep fiscal court and city council updated on as the project went. So we moved and pushed hard, hope to try to get the project going as quick as we could. And we did get our grants approved, and we've kind of got caught up with the engineers on builds and stuff like that. But the engineers and the contractor that was awarded the job, Scott and Murphy, they wanted to wait until springtime to move on the project. We wasn't particularly happy on that, but we understand the reason, because it felt like maybe it's going to be the best interest of all involved, because they were looking at the weather in case they got started in the project and the weather did take a change or something, and they're on a time restraint on them completing the project, and the engineers fully supported them on it and asked us, said, could we just start the project in springtime? And we said, well, if it's the best interest of all involved. And one of the reasons too, the existing apron is going to have be dug up and redone, and this involves the existing corporate aircraft that we have out there, that it was going to change their approach of getting the aircraft in and out of the hangar. And of course they asked what could be a minimum time working with a contractor to do this, and the contractor said, you know, right now it would be hard to tell going into the winter, you know, fall and winter time, but we felt like that maybe springtime, you know, we can come in and try to put it at a minimum 3 weeks. And because if it was going to be drawn or longer than that, they were going to have to see about probably putting the aircraft at another airport for a hangar or something. Of course, we don't want that. We want to try to keep them all there and bring in as many as we can. So, I mean, that was one of the things that we felt like that we needed to work with and agreed on. So it'd be springtime as far as when the construction and everything were going. But in the meantime, we've got some little projects that we've got to do to work with them. We're going to try to go on and get the utilities moved, get everything ready, so when springtime hits or they decide that they want to get to moving on the project, that to say, hey, here it is, go at it. So, you know, we've had people ask us where we were at on the project, you know, and whatever. So the board just, like I said, felt like in the best interest of all involved that we'll move on it in springtime. But everything else is set in place to go. So, and you know, other than that, I think things are going pretty good out there. We've had some equipment breakdowns and everything, but you know, the judge is, and Kelly and his crew, they've been super great about working with us to help get us going. We think we're back online. So the only other thing, just talked to Joe earlier and the judge about, I think, with Department of Local Government of.
Yeah, we got our hearing tomorrow on Zoom, so Judge and I will be meeting with them. Y'all would be welcome to get on if you wanted to, but obviously no obligation. But they've got theirs filed, so they're all good to go, and I know the city is in the process of doing theirs, so that whole loan process is moving along as we had planned.
Okay, so that's where we're at, now, unless there's any questions anybody has or anything.
I wish all boards were proactive as the airport board. I appreciate it.
Well,
We're very grateful.
Y'all do a good job.
we
Maybe
appreciate the
point them to
support that
Planning
we
and
get
Zoning
from
Commission.
Yeah, y'all want to do
everybody
planning and
involved.
zoning?
Huh?
Y'all want to be the planning and zoning commission?
No, we got enough.
No added points, please.
George, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Next up on the agenda is approved bills and supplement bill list.
Judge, I got 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
One, so what page am I on? Page 4.
Is this the bill list?
On the bill list?
Yes, sir.
Page 4 of 10. It says we fully serviced the Zetter tractor, $4,681.27. That all they did was service it?
No, it wasn't served.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it sounds more like a new transmission.
It went over. The shifter, they had to split it, take the cab off. And had to let the hose and all that.
Okay, so it just wasn't changing oil and oil filters and
They
speed.
didn't change it all.
Okay, all right.
No, that's a good idea. I'm glad you caught that. I didn't catch the wording on that. So.
Okay, well, I just thought that was a lot of money for service. And then on the supplemental, I'm gonna request that we pull the parking bill for $212 until further explanation.
Where's that one?
It's
It's on the supplement bill list.
Oh. Sorry. Oh,
Okay.
I was on the wrong page.
I will,
Right there.
Oh.
That one? Okay. Sorry, I was on the wrong page.
Those are the only two I had. I would request that
Right.
deal be pulled until,
Absolutely.
I don't want to say it's out of line because I don't know the circumstance.
Absolutely.
I want to be fair.
Absolutely.
But without explanation, I'm not voting in favor of that bill. Yeah,
We will get in touch with,
we don't do that.
we'll get in touch and figure that
Don't turn one of those in.
that one out.
I'm gonna call you
Don't
out
worry,
on
I'm
it.
not gonna turn that in.
But hey, there could be situation, that's all that's available. I've seen that before.
Right.
I've been to a conference before that's all that was available. And I drove several blocks away and paid in public parking
Rather
somewhere
than do
else than to do that. But that was me.
I agree.
I have been places that.
No, we have too. We have
That's
to.
all.
We
that's
park
all
in
it's-
public parking and avoided valet, so I get that.
Yeah.
With that being said, would you be,
Is there anything else that y'all?
is there anything else?
So,
If not, would you like to make the motion that involves pulling that?
everybody good with the rest of it?
Yeah.
I think so. I noticed there's some, I mean, the jail's bills are like $74,000. I didn't know. We had a lot of stuff going on out there. I know we had the air conditioner bill on there, right? The air bill.
52,000 of it was maintenance.
Maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Installing that new tank.
Yeah. I saw drywall and wood. I don't know if we're building a condominium or not, or what's going on out there, but Wi-Fi modules for units for $37.50.
What about the refunds on page 9, 10? I was just sort of curious what that was for.
I bet the agri-power deal with sales tax.
Were they overpaid or taxed?
I don't see that. What's the number? What's the dollar?
Page-
It's on the
page
bill,
9.
Page 9.
Agri-power?
I mean, it's probably estimates on their occupational tax or something.
Hannah, do you have it?
Yeah, that's an
Occupation
overpayment.
tax refund.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a
occupation
tax
tax
refund
refunds.
for-
Okay. I just want to make sure that we were reading that right.
I mean, I just,
Common.
you know, I know we
Yes,
got
you'll
a,
see those, just when people do their audits, you know, or, hey, you overpaid on this, and they'll turn in an addendum to Sue Carroll downstairs, and we issue refund checks. I saw one time, it was over $100,000.
A refund.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or they overpaid their taxes, I mean, they too much.
I can't imagine, but I'm just a little tiny person in this big picture.
But,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of repairs and a lot of stuff we've got to do, but we just have to keep in mind that
Right.
once that budget money is expended, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's right.
So,
And we increased that line item too.
Yeah.
This year.
yeah.
So. Okay, I make a motion to approve the bills and the supplemental bill list with the removal of the $212 for parking until further explanation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilcutt,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Holden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes. Next up is our treasurer's report. Miss Amanda, would you please come and enlighten us?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the first thing I have for you this morning is our financial statement ending 8/31/2023. The balance in the general fund was $336,646.47. Road fund $1,496,865.51. Jail fund $119,282.72. LGEA $37,852.45. Federal Grants Fund, $54.68. Solid Waste Recycling, $468,323.29. Parks and Rec Fund, $1,260,326.57. Occupational Tax, $7,361,093.54. Life Skills, $155,195.11. 911 Fund, $245,610.99.
Health Insurance Fund 147,170.55. County Clerk Storage Fees 44,221.21. ARPA Fund 4,320,310.84. National Opioid Settlement Fund 154,785.05. Special Reserve Fund 4,224,901.93, for a total of all funds 21,172,640.91.
So acknowledged.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilkett,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
We do have one budget transfer that we need to get approved today.
Motion to approve budget transfer.
Second. Second.
Is that the
$500.
drug testing thing?
I have a motion and a second. If no further discussion, roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilkett,
Yes.
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
I do have 4 cash transfers for you that we need to get approved today. We need to transfer $175,000 from the Occupational Net Profits Tax Fund to the General Fund.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilkett,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
We need to transfer $65,000 from the Occupational Net Profits Tax Fund to the Jail Fund.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Chris and a second by Jason. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilkett,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
We need to transfer $50,000 from the Occupational Net Profits Tax Fund to the LGEA Fund.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Tyler, a second by Chris. If no further discussion, roll call.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilkett,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
And we need to transfer $50,000 from the Occupational Net Profits Tax Fund to the 911 Fund.
I'll make a motion to accept. Second.
Motion by Ms. Crawford, second by Jamie. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilkett,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Ms. Amanda. Next up is road work request, District 1.
District 1, Kelly, out on Stevensonville Road, sometime in you go out there and check on a drainage issue. I think it's Miss Bosson's residence from her driveway. I'm pretty sure she don't have a tile, so they're gonna have to purchase a tile. But anyway, we'll look at it, maybe tell her what she's gotta do to help with her drainage at her driveway. And then out there on Concord Road, that sign, I don't know, been hit or something, we try to straighten it out. Stop sign and the road sign at the beginning. Then Thompson Chapel Road, if we can, cut back any of the brush in the right of way that's maybe blocking any views or anything like that. I've had a call about people having a hard time seeing 431 with some brush that was in the right of way causing block of view. So anything we can help out right there, we appreciate it. Other than that, continue maintenance.
District 2.
Thomas Road still has walnut tree limbs over the road. Mortimer Road, right there across from the cemetery that's diagonal from Mariah Church. There's brush and limbs that are in a curve that make it really hard to see when semis and big farm equipment come through there. And still stump grinding on dot for the storm. I know y'all are shorthanded, but I appreciate everything you do.
District 3.
Kelly, I put on there if the speed limit and walking pedestrian sign isn't the second set, hasn't been added on Kenny Stratton. I'd like to get that done. But it has, if it has already been done, thank you. But otherwise, thanks for all you've done.
District 4, continue maintenance.
District 5, sorry.
Thank you for repairs on Hall and Montgomery. They're very grateful. And we've already talked about New Valley, so we're in good communication there. And thank you for being short and still handling so much.
District 6, continue maintenance, thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
Before we take a vote, I just want to remind everybody that the guys out there at the road barn, we are extremely short-handed between some sickness and just open positions, and those guys are working their backsides off to catch up, and it seems like we're always playing catch up out there, and so I just want to say I appreciate Kelly, you, and all the guys out there and all the work you guys do. If with that, entertain a motion to accept road work.
I got a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Since we've approved the reapportionment and all that's been finalized, when does that take effect?
I was just getting ready to ask the exact same thing if we voted.
Stacey, you want to come up and explain that?
Oh, well, let's vote first. We can do that. I mean, I don't care.
She's got to come up anyway. When she comes up, I'll have her explain that.
Okay. Yeah.
Is
Talking
that okay?
about road work requests, if we had road that's removed.
Yeah, I'm talking about the road work side of it. So like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's in effect. So, I mean, when does it go in effect for our mileage to change and our money to change?
That'll be after the election, correct? So after the general election in November is when that goes into effect. Correct,
So,
Stacey?
the day after that election,
Day
I'm
after
now
that,
responsible for a few extra roads.
or a few less, depending on how that worked with your.
I would say it's first of the year, but I doubt it's the day after the election, I would say.
Well, I've told people in my district that they said, aren't you going to be my magistrate? And I said, at the end of
Right.
this year, you'll probably need to call someone who.
Well, it's probably a good general thumb because I mean we only have.
542 numbers coming in.
Judge, I was along the lines of what Jason's asking, I guess. How does this reapportionment affect like roads that I've requested Kelly to pave?
So
whereas I already have plenty of funds.
that, and forgive me for not having the exact answer on this, but that will roll into, if that road falls into somebody else's district, that will roll into them.
Okay. Well, so if it doesn't, are those free to go now to be put on the books to pave if they're not even in a fringe area? Am I making sense?
I don't.
I
Like,
think
if I'm-
I don't really have an answer for that. So.
Like,
I
I got
should be
3
requesting to have roads paved that are in Ann's district, so she has to pay for them before I.
No. I'm saying
Tom says, all right, I'm
got-
good with that.
I've got roads
You've got roads that you've already requested to be paved.
that are not even in the fringe of any of the reapportionment.
Kelly, when was Scotty's going to get out and pave any of those? Were they done for the year? Or are they going to try to keep paving or?
They usually pay weather permit first of December.
And I may have misunderstood it from mine and Kelly's conversation that the reapportionment had a bearing on upcoming paving, and that's where I was a little bit.
I don't have an answer for you on that, Chris. I apologize. I'll see what I can do to find an answer and get back.
Because I could see, just like what you was talking about, if you got areas about paving roads that are
Right.
getting ready to change, that's one thing, but like if you've got roads to pave that aren't even subject to
Affected.
that.
Oh, okay.
And there's money, and there's not a case of being short of money, I just
You're right.
want to make
That would
sure.
be a big deal.
Are you clear?
It's mud. Yes, sir.
All right, I guess we'll cross. I'm still confused, but we can cross it later.
So, Chris, your
I
question
think it's
was,
first
if
of
it's
the
not
year.
going to be affected by apportionment, is it still a go? Wasn't that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it clear to me.
Yes, that
I can
does.
see how that would-
Yeah.
change.
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Well, I didn't know if like our monies are being like recalculated based on like total road mileage and stuff, but if you're sitting there.
It'll be your future money.
Yeah, but if you're sitting there with sufficient funds.
I've only been through that process one other time.
Right.
And when I gained a little mileage, I didn't get all of a sudden got any new money. I got new money when when July 1 started, when the new budget started. That's when it was calculated.
So we won't really see a change in our money till July 24, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
That was your question.
That's what we did. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's what we did.
That's my question, but
So we will get updated numbers from Kim Morrow, because she's the one that actually calculates how many road miles are in each district. And then once she provides us with those, especially on the flex dollars, we'll have to assign those percentages to the monies. So we're allocating those monies correctly.
That's flex only, right? Or is it flex only monies?
it's both.
It'll be
It's gonna
both. It'll
So,
be both.
Because the number that she gives us will be for the county budget money as well as the flex dollars. We use the same percentages on both sides.
So then it's gonna be a little bit of a retroactive thing back to this year's budget? Or just gonna.
Something we'll have to cover when we get there, I guess, you know, I mean, like, we'll see what those percentages are, and then you all can figure out exactly what you want those to look like.
I think what Jason might be concerned about is, say he takes over somebody else's road, say he took over 5 miles of road.
What were you even asking a question for? Your number didn't change one bit, did it?
You got some mileage.
Oh, did it? Whose
Not
number
much.
didn't change? I thought somebody said, that was your number. Your number didn't change at all.
His didn't.
Oh, Chris.
No, I gave you
No,
some-
no,
so he got
Chris
some mileage.
gained, Jason probably
Here's my
lost
question.
less or gained
No,
less.
what
Yeah,
I was
go ahead.
saying was, say you gain 5 miles of road, you might not have gained many people, but
Right.
say you gain 5 miles of road, your money stays the same, but the person you took it away from has an extra 5 miles worth of money to spend on their other roads.
No. So, I mean, in July, all of our money will be reapportioning, and it's going to change just very little. I'm not worried about that. I want to know when I call Kelly and say, hey, D. Morgan Road's mine now. I need this done. When is that my responsibility? That's what I want to know. Is it the day after the election? Is it January 1st? Is it July 1st?
Good question.
Stacy.
I'm going to tell you just, because I don't want to tell y'all wrong. So, me telling y'all it begins after the election is so that we're not racing to get all those voters in their right districts between now and the general. There's no way to get that done. We don't have enough time. So, check with. You definitely want to check. I can dig around in the KRS for you, but I'm not sure it says when y'all's roads go into effect. I know that we've been told at our meetings at art conferences, we are not to start changing voters into that new reapportioned magisterial district until after the general election, and we've got to have that done by the May primary. So if that answers that question, I don't know if Department of Local Government could help us on knowing what to do about your roads.
This isn't a legal thing, and I'm not sure that it's going to get
Right.
specific as to when you're starting
Right.
to be
I know
responsible
that
for a
we-
road, but
yeah.
Thomas often says, I represent the whole county
Right.
in interest of that.
Yeah.
If they're going to be in your district or they're in your district now, I think Kelly would take your call. That's the
Right.
way I look at it. And they're going to be,
You take care of it. Kelly's all right.
As far as when reapportionment starts affecting us, though, we really can't start on anything till like the day after the general election, because we are going to be, you know, we got different magisterial districts we got to reassign now, so.
So I've told people that have come, they still vote
Yes.
in the same place they
Yes.
used to this time.
Which we have voter centers. Everybody votes everywhere now. We can vote wherever you want
Well,
to.
but some older people want their same place. And so my question actually was just answered. But come May, it will be the new place if they.
No, we have
No,
vote
won't
centers.
matter.
We've had vote centers since 2020. So they can go to
Okay.
any of the 5. They can do
Okay,
early
so
voting. Now, if the
this-
law changes on that, I'll make sure to let y'all know. But as of right now, we have vote centers. That way they can
Does
all.
it matter where they vote?
No, ma'am. Mm-mm.
Okay, that will be my.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, did we get motions on that? On the road work request?
So moved. If we did. She didn't record a motion.
Jason made the motion.
Shouldn't.
Jason, did you make a motion for the road request?
Yeah.
Oh. Jason made the motion. Can I get a second?
Yeah.
Second. Okay.
Second by Chris.
Give our,
Is there any other discussion on this? Because I think we're all still kind of at a loss, but we'll figure it out and let you guys know. If no further discussion, roll call, please.
Davenport.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Wilcott.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Crawford.
yes.
Holden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes. Next up is elected officials. First up is Sheriff Stephen Stratton.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
I need to get the fee report acknowledged. Sorry I missed last court. Was off at the sheriff's conference.
Make a motion to acknowledge the sheriff's fee report.
Second.
I have a motion by Chris, a second by Jamie. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Davenport.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Wilcott.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Holden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Yes. Auto inspection trips. What is that?
That is where we go to their site and inspect, so it's a $15 fee if we go to them.
Okay.
So it's broke down separately.
Okay.
You're getting ready to be busy at the end of this.
Yes, we are. Tax bills go out today. They will be a little different. There'll be a white card. Normally it's a yellow card, but they raise the prices if we do a color card. And it was going to be several $1,000s extra, so we just went with a standard white card to save a little money on that. So they were mailed out today, and we'll start collecting October 1st. No day sooner or anything. October 1st.
Of course, October 1st is Sunday. And
It
Sunday
is,
will
so
be the
that's
second.
right. October 2nd, we will start taxes.
Yes, that's
The
fine.
website will be up and running October 1st, so you can go online and pay it that way as well. But we will be taking taxes Monday morning, October 2nd.
What's the website? Do you know?
Good question. Logan County KY.
I tell you what, we'll make sure we get it posted
Yeah,
on
I'll give
social
it-
media,
make sure
and I'll make sure
it's,
we get it out as much as possible.
But you should be able to just Google Logan County Sheriff's Office. Logan
Lo-
KY Sheriff.
So it's on your page.
Yes, it's on our page.
Is that a .com or a
Yes.
LoganKYSheriff.com?
We get a lot of Facebook messages from Logan counties across the state because there are so many other Logan counties like in West Virginia, Oklahoma. So we get messages on our Facebook page, some yelling at us and some wanting to report something. And I'm like, what did we do? And then I realized it's from a totally different state. So
Yeah,
that's why we put.
Logan County, Oklahoma has a tendency of putting burn bans on. And
Yes, yeah, we got
lots
that.
of calls
Yeah,
about
we got a
their
lot
burn
about that,
bans.
yes. So-
You get their verbatim.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Ohio's another conflict.
Yeah,
Ohio,
we
yeah.
get several yelled at over certain other Logan County
Yeah.
nationwide.
So that's why we put the KY in. It's kind
So if you
so
see it
people
on
Google.
if you see it on Facebook, you know it's always true. Of course, we know that. But with that being said, make sure you verify which Logan
yeah.
County it is before you
All
do
right,
it.
that's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Chris, I got your email about Kenny Stratton Road, and they've been out there pretty much daily checking on it.
Thank you. Because Jim, the SRO, reached out to me, but
Yeah.
also was going to let you know I reached out to the state
Mhm.
about putting up
The
a do not block
signs,
intersection
yeah.
sign.
I didn't know they were backing up like that, so I sent that to Jim.
It
To
was the
kinda-
fire department right there too. So
Yeah.
they had- It could be a
So
bad spot.
we were working traffic detail in Keysburg in that area anyway, so I just had them slide over a little bit to work that area.
Thank you, Sheriff. Next up, Stacy Watkins, our county clerk.
If Miss Colorado pick up and drop off.
I have something on the agenda for y'all, but I didn't really have anything prepared for right now. But I did want to, are y'all talking about the road work and stuff earlier? Not road work, I'm sorry. the planning and zoning earlier, I just want to remind y'all, if anybody ever asks you about something that's restricting their subdivision, y'all can send them to our office. We have that information there.
Oh, okay.
So I heard you asking, you have neighbors sometime ask you, if they live in a subdivision and it has restrictions, those are recorded at my office.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
With all the new ones where we are,
Yes,
they're
yes.
asking a lot.
When I lived on Plainview, I thought about getting me some goats, and I pulled the restriction on my subdivision, and I cannot have goats out there, so.
But if someone had an issue with it, it's a civil case. It's
Correct.
not-
Yes.
Correct.
We don't enforce it.
Right.
We don't
County
enforce
doesn't
it.
You
or-
just have
Right.
the list.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, on any subdivision, every subdivision that has restrictions, their restrictions are filed in that office. So each individual subdivision, and it may reference it in their deed, but we know, like, by the name of that subdivision, you can come in and pull that subdivision's restrictions.
thanks.
You can
Yes,
sue
ma'am.
your neighbor if they
Yeah.
had.
If they went against, if they tried to have goats,
Yeah.
and they're not supposed to. So, all right, and then,
I would never complain if you got goats on Plainview. I just wanted to-
you wouldn't say, well, I don't live there anymore. I'm over by Amanda and Steve now, so I'll put goats in our yard. I went from Plainview to Longview. I'm gonna bring my goats to Longview. Right now, we're working on getting ready to get our machine set on September 27th. We've got the County Board of Election will be doing a machine examination in October, and we will, of course, have that published in the paper, and I'll try to remind you guys before then. If any of you would like to come see our machine examination, you're all welcome. What else are we working on right now, Jim? Tax bills.
Early voting starts tomorrow.
Early voting. The portal opens Sunday, so yes, anyone can go online to vote ky. No, it's not org, isn't it US? I don't know. I'll get it before I get back up here for my agenda.
Remind everybody while you're up here, when election is and all the voting centers that we have.
Sure. So we are gonna, hang on one second, let me go grab my paper.
I got you taken care of.
They're really worried. The older ones are so used to their spot. Oh, they're so upset because they closed the Bucksville one. So.
Before I go quoting dates without having it right in front of me, it is on the website. You've got it, he's got it up on our website. So you can go on there and find all that information listed exactly what the dates are. However, the portal did open. You can begin dropping your absentee ballots now. The drop box is open. As far as the dates for the early voting, I do not want to get that wrong, so let me look at my calendar.
Is it elect.ky?
Yeah, maybe.
Or vote.gov?
It's vote.
Vote.gov.
Yeah, hang on a second.
Yeah, that's where you go register to vote.
Yes.
Vote.gov.
Yes, that's it, .gov. Okay.
Wow, that's a.
So, as far as the dates go on, which it's still kind of far out, but you can come inside our office and vote. I believe it is. I'm not going to quote it here. I'm not going to quote that here. You can go without an excuse, though. You can walk into the extension office on, give me one second. We will begin letting people vote at the extension office for early voting beginning November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then, of course, Election Day is going to be there at the extension office, at the Auburn School, at the Logan County High School, at the Adairville School, and Lewisburg School.
And that starts November the what?
In person, no excuse early voting will begin on November 2nd. I have something for you guys. I've got something printed out for all y'all. I'm gonna bring it to you. I just thought it was a little bit early for the locations now. Y'all might lose it, but I have something for all of y'all.
Okay, thank you.
I've got y'all plans
General
typed out.
election is November the 7th.
Yes, it is November the 7th. So we're getting our machine set. We've been down there cleaning. We've done a whole lot of cleaning out, trying to get organized, trying to get ready. And then we're dealing with taxes right now, tax rates right now. So our office has been really busy. We got a lot going on down there. And the next court meeting, I'll have each of you the general election plan. But they can start voting inside the office. I'll go ahead and tell you the dates on it. If you cannot be in town for any of the dates that's offered, you can vote. Let's see.
In the clerk's office.
Yes, you can come inside our office. We will be asking you for your excuse. But I believe that begins on the 25th and will run through the 1st. Don't quote me on that, though. I want to make sure I'm right on that. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
But I will get you all, I have tons of copies. I didn't bring them today because I didn't plan on talking about that much today, but, all right.
Now you have something to talk about next.
Yeah, no problem. Do y'all have any questions for me? I'll be back for my thing on the agenda. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Next up is Jailer Joshua Timmy.
I think you gave us a handout. You'll find a handout, I think, Thomas, about a vehicle.
Good morning, Court.
Good morning. Washing machine.
Yes,
Machine.
our count, it is expensive, and I'm sorry.
I just glanced at the total. I thought that must be a car.
Our count as of this morning was 169. And as you see before you, I did pass out before the court started the handout that you got. Back in May, I presented and requested a washing machine from the court that y'all approved. However, I wasn't expecting the time delay like it was. At the time, I was under the impression a couple weeks, maybe a month. August hit, it still hadn't come in, and the bearings went out. Over the weekend, I got a call. It started at the one sole washer that we were left with started acting funny. And of course, we're washing clothes for the better part of 200 people, 24/7, 7 days a week. 24/7, all the time, constantly running. This is different than a residential, right? With all the inmates, laundry, linens, clothes, washer, you name it. So I was kind of stuck. I did not want it to go out. I contacted Ream, which is who we ordered it from, and they get several brands. They could not get we weren't the only customer as far as contacting Unimac for an estimation on when it would be available. They said, same warranty, same capacity, less money. We'll give you a break on a Maytag. They said, we can have that to you in 2 weeks. We would guarantee that. Again, I did not want it to go down and not have anything and have to outsource laundry. So I made a call. However, I need court's approval, and I've learned that since. But I ended up ordering 2. I will pay for one at a commissary because, again, the bearings went out, and they said it may last a few days. It could last a couple months, but it was going to be more of a cost to repair it on that old of a machine, replacing all the bearings versus buying a new one. So again, I did not want to be stuck with no way of doing laundry, because of course that's one of the jobs as far as KRS is covered, providing them with clean linen, towels, wash rags,
so you're
bedding and clothes.
The back page, the Maytag, you're
Yes.
getting 2 of them actually?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I'm covering one, and of course I presented and requested back in May. I never knew it was going to take that long. And neither did Ream. They thought a couple weeks, maybe a month is what the date we were given, and then it took a lot longer. So
You was just going to get one back in May? Though.
back in May, because I didn't know that because of the other one run for so long by itself, it just got so much wear and tear. It finally.
Is it the same price that we approved?
It's less.
$1,000
It's $1,358 less.
The
But
top
at the
page,
time,
the top page is what we approved.
Okay.
yes.
And this back page is what they're
All right,
doing.
Yes.
here's a
We was
question.
going to do a Unimac, can't do that, so we're going to go to a Maytag.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is the installation not something that you guys can handle?
Well, because of the hookup and everything for the warranty,
Okay.
that we don't want to void that. But they have the equipment, basically like a handheld skid steer, not really.
Yeah, it's just like a moving truck or
yes,
something.
to get that in, because it's heavy, very heavy. Yes.
All right, so he just needs a motion to approve this again, or?
I guess we would have to do
Instead of approving.
right.
Make a motion that because we cannot get the ring previously approved, or the Unimac unit that was previously approved for $16,474, that we switch that and go with the Maytag unit. That's $15,116.
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you. And at the time, that one wasn't available. That's why I didn't present that, or I would have, obviously, with being less cost, but thank you.
I have a motion by Thomas and a second by
So
Tyler.
now you're gonna have two.
Yes, because the bearings went out on the other one. It ran solo for so long, it just,
Quit.
yes.
Do we have any further discussion?
Just one simple question.
No,
Yes,
that's
sir.
fine. That's fine.
When the jailer buys something with the commissary, does that go on the county's
Inventory.
inventory list?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
And-
like the scanner that they bought, that's county property.
Yes.
Josh, I would also say in the future, if you have something like that where you have a basic necessity go out and there's not a fiscal court meeting, we can do executive orders that would allow you to go ahead and do
And
that.
I should have asked, I just made a decision because I did not, again, want to be stuck
Just-
with no way. of
Just
doing it.
making sure for the future to
Thank you.
get everybody
Thank you.
covered.
Yes, sir. And it's just to touch on, I know some questions on the bills and things. When we started our Class D project, unbeknownst to us, after we got everything put back together,
We got to vote on this.
I'm sorry.
Okay, any further
Yes, sir.
discussion on the washing machine? If not, roll call, please.
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wilcutt,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Bolden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify. I know there were some questions on the bills. Unbeknownst to us, I guess, sealing the block and things in the showers, I don't know if that wears out with time, or if I don't know what the case was. However, once we done all the replacement, putting in the access panels, the isolation valves for the showers to fix all Class D, that whole time, once the showers were back up and running, moisture for a long time, I would say years, had been seeping through that block. And it had eat up all the metal. Instead of having wood studs in the walls, it was metal or aluminum. Those were eat up. We found that out when the sheetrock started chipping away along the floor and had to redo the flooring too, as far as all the tile, pulled all that up and coated it like you would a garage. But that was where sheetrock cost and wood to replace those studs in the wall, as well as we had some leaks in the kitchen. We replaced some sinks. Once we pulled those out, we didn't realize that it had been running through and it eat up the sheetrock behind the sinks too. So we had to pull all that old out that was soft and starting to chip away and fall apart, and replace the studs in the wall because it had eat those up too. It had been doing that for so long, I would say years. So that was where the cost for the sheetrock and the flooring, we bought all that. And as far as for the showers to prevent that, we made our own forms, put concrete, sealed that well, and then repainted it, and redid every shower, all the sheetrock down both walls on the Class D side, on the hallways, and then redid the kitchen.
Put down some flooring.
We pulled up scraped up all the old tile that were broken and chipped. They were going to be twice as expensive, and we bought an epoxy. Once we cleaned and had a smooth concrete surface, we used like a garage floor epoxy and coated it with the, where you throw down the sprinkles or to give it that look or that texture. And it's been fantastic. It looks night and day different over there. Makes it look so much better. So
Probably last longer.
yes, it's supposed to.
When you first got in,
I'd love for you to come back and see, but there's been a lot of changes.
It's a lot of changes.
Painting
It's a
and
whole lot better over
sheetrock replacement all throughout the building. But I just wanted to explain some of those questions on the bills. But we did all that work ourselves. We just bought the
I know you got a
materials.
bunch of things that's got to be done at the jail as far as repairs and maintenance, and we addressed a lot of that when we took a tour with you at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
I've been looking at the condition report on the jail budget, and it's on target to be, definitely 100%. I just want to keep in mind.
Yes, sir.
As we're going
Yes, sir.
along,
Yes.
that we're keeping that in mind. But
Absolutely.
definitely y'all's efforts and the improvements is very, very appreciated, and I know all the inmates appreciate being in that environment better. So
Yes, sir.
But anyway, I only mentioned just because I
No, I understand.
want us to
And-
keep in mind of the budget
Absolutely.
And, but like I said, all y'all's work and your improvements are definitely noticed, and I appreciate it. And I would like to, maybe sometime soon.
Please,
Some of the
you're all-
others might want to go too.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you all come back. I think it's night and day
That way they don't
different.
have to plan two.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go, because I had to miss the other one.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just have to do 3 of us or.
Yeah.
So.
Was there a certain number?
Yeah, we can't have quorum, so it had to be 3 of us, yeah.
So I
Would
can
love to
go.
have.
No, you can go and 2 more.
They've got a cell ready for you.
But what I'm saying is, we gotta have more than 1 tour if we all go.
That's funny.
All right, you have anything else?
No, sir. And
Thank you.
any other questions on bills as far as that, on maintenance? All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Joshua.
Stacy, you want to come back up for a second?
That's so funny. It might be
Stacy looks excited and happy.
I strolled on down there and got that for you. Sorry I didn't bring it. Here you go. And then I'll give it to Shelley too. That way it's on your iPads. I don't know if y'all take those home, but here you go.
We got access to our Google Drive.
Okay, okay. Yes, that's a lot more. Joe, you want one?
Yeah, that'd be great.
There you go. And it'll be in the paper too, I believe. I talked to Denise, and then I've also got a legal ad running with it in it. But yes, I'm sorry. I made those for y'all and forgot to bring them to you. Apologize.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. If y'all have any questions, I think we mailed out 4 absentee ballots yesterday. If you have any shut-ins, please let them know. They do not have to go online to do that. Have them call us at the office. We'll get them an absentee ballot ordered. We can do that for them and get it mailed out to them, okay? Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. I don't see any other elected officials. Let's go on to move forward into department heads. First up, let's bring Jennifer Mosier, Animal Shelter Director. Hi, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There's one for each of you. You have yours, right, Judge Baker? You have yours?
Yes, I have mine.
Okay, this is the proposal that I didn't have printed for you guys the last time.
You told us about some of these last time.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
wanna go
ma'am.
ahead?
I just wanted you to be able to
Yeah.
print it out and actually look at each product.
Thank you. I just realized you talked about that.
I did, yes, ma'am, I did. And the difference is, just from my notes, the Kennesaw, it should be used in at least 8 ounces per gallon. And was previously being used as 2 ounces per gallon. And that's not enough to kill the parvovirus. So that makes the Kennesaw more expensive now. If I mathed right, and I am a Gemini, so I don't math very well, it looks like it would be $2.44 per gallon. And then when I averaged up what they have here,
So do you want to give kind of an explanation of how this works? Because you had to explain to me earlier. this morning.
yes, correct. So I know they looked through the brochure. There's just different products that are pre-measured into the system that they come and install the systems for free. And it's really hard. I've tried to kind of look for other places. These are specialized systems that are for the shelter to pre-measure your stuff so that you're not overusing, underusing. It just makes it cleaning more effective. There's several different products that come together and they work together. Like the degreaser is for your brick, which is very porous, and it's really important that you degrease first to be able to get all of that off. Then you rinse it, and then you can actually sanitize it correctly. And then when it comes to the dog bowl cleanings, there's your cleaner and then your disinfectant. We already have the 3-bin sink, so that really does help. They'll come and install a station that'll be specifically just for that, and we won't have to pre-measure. We won't necessarily have to use dish soap anymore. It'll just be all of these products, and then we can disinfect their bowls properly, and we don't have to worry about whether we miscalculated using the Kennesaw, or as we're doing it now, we kind of rinse them off. We wash them with dish soap, we rinse them again, and then you're supposed to put them in a bucket of Kennesaw. The problem with that, it's okay for the dog bowls as long as they're dry before you put fresh food in it. The problem is when you do their water buckets, if you put it in the Kennesaw and you let it sit there, you then have to go back and re-rinse the Kennesaw, because once you pour fresh water in their bucket, the Kennesaw will make suds, and I don't want them to drink that. So I have been just rinsing them, scrubbing them with a brush, dish soap, rinsing them, and then just drying the water buckets.
Do you
So
have?
this will streamline that. I'm sorry, I didn't need that.
Do you, I think it's great, but do you have a cost, like what it would cost for like the remainder of this budget year to, I know this is what it would cost for a 5-gallon pail and then
I don't.
250
Are you asking like how long
Like
it would
how, like-
last?
Yeah, like do you
So
think-
with the products here, if you look at Grease Be Gone, it says 1 part per 256 parts of water. So you're only basically using half an ounce of this per gallon. So it's going to last longer. That's where they get the 52 cents per gallon. I can't tell you how long these products would ever last because we've never actually used them in the shelter. So I can't say, oh, well, you know, we're going to purchase this $1,975 worth of products and it's going to last us guaranteed 6 months. I can't give you that because we've never used
Well,
it.
we have to know somewhat what it's going to cost, 'cause otherwise, you know.
Well, the total would be $1,975 for these products that are listed in the quote.
But we don't know how long that's going to
Correct, and that's
So-
really difficult for me to sit there and say, okay, well, I mean, the kennels all,
If we're, you know, we're housing our county animals as well as the Humane Society, you know, that's something Humane Society could split the cost on, with us on that. I mean, it's helping, they're the ones that pay a lot of the vet bills and whatnot to, I just didn't know if we're housing our animals and then the animals that the Humane Society is putting out for adoption. Is that something that just the county's going to take care of the cost, or is that something that we can jointly do with, since we're sharing the facility? That's my question.
I would just assume that the county do. I mean, that's just my thought, because it's to do with the cleaning side of it, but I mean, it could be a conversation. But I think what she needs to know today is, I mean, this is 5 products that if we buy 5 gallons of each in the beginning, they're going to come in and install the dispensers for free. And
Yes.
then we're going to buy this product as needed. So 5 gallons of this might last 2 years, but 5 gallons of this might last 4 months.
and that's a potential
There's
possibility
nothing-
too.
There's no way to gauge that because we don't know population. and-
Right, your dog bowl cleaning solution could last you 8 months. It just depends on how many bowls and how many sinks you're running every day. It can be a little difficult if you want to break it down by each product. The deodorizer, that may end up lasting longer because it's an orange citrus smell. So I know when they first started using it in Christian County Animal Shelter, it was way overpowering. So they had to come back in and adjust that, and it was less than that. They just had to modify it. So that lasts a little longer because it was very overpowering.
Well, if they're using this in Christian County, what
Yes.
would be the possibility of asking them approximately per
I can
animal?
ask them, but they are a larger facility and they have a lot more kennels than we do. So I don't know that that would be accurate based on
Well,
what
I just meant per kennel.
per kennel.
If we could just have like, I know that's a lot to ask, maybe it's not feasible, I'm just.
That wouldn't be.
I don't think that would be,
Not feasible.
unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just, I mean,
You've got 5 different products that do 5 different things, and we have to have these regardless, no matter who pays for it or how much it
Correct.
takes each year, each month, we have to have them. So what she needs to do now is she needs to get us to approve getting this in place, and then we just have to figure out.
And then
The
in
rest.
6 months, you can tell us how well they
correct.
have.
And the degreaser is one of the biggest issues. Right now, there is no degreaser. The kennel saw is just one product. And we're basically going in, scooping, rinsing everything, and you take the Kennels and you just spray it, and you let it sit 5-10 minutes, and then you can move your dogs back in. But there's nothing, I mean, brick is a very, very porous
Yeah.
item.
What's this total?
And so, correct, right now, it's
19.
$19.75, $1,975.
Make a motion to buy this from the remaining companies for $1,975.
Second.
From where, how we paying for
Who made the second?
I did.
Jason made the second.
Have we paying for it, Thomas? That's what Tyler is.
Y'all don't have enough money budgeted in
Well,
the line item for
120 that we got budgeted for animal.
It's gone.
No, that's gonna,
It's
120,000.
non-existent.
Yeah, that's the
That got
salary. We
transferred
moved
over
some
to
money
salaries.
over.
Yeah, they moved some money over
To-
from,
But that was salary alone.
Mm.
Okay.
under.
Amanda, how much did we move to that?
We've got $4,000 budgeted for animal shelter cleaning supplies.
Okay, so that's what it would come out of, right there. That answered the question right there.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for finding that.
I have a motion from Thomas, a second from Jason. If there's any other discussion.
I go on the lines of what you were just saying. I was just curious, if you did, obviously you know what the average count that we've seen. I mean, may not mean nothing in 2020 takes or running, but I was just wondering if this rep could just provide it.
Use.
Eight more that are on the
That's
pads.
nothing that we would hold you to. It's just, I think it's at least,
$3.39 per dog.
it would at least just give a good, it'd get me
Yeah.
useful to have in the back
Divided
of
by
the
1,200.
Yeah.
There you go. $3.
That's all I wanted to add. I
Every
mean, I
time you
figure
dig
they're the
in,
best,
put
they're the best to tell you
$3.40
those.
on
Correct, yeah.
I mean, I know why you want to do this. This is because of the diseases and cleaning.
And the smell, in all honesty.
And the smell.
The smell is one of the hardest things when you have somebody that's coming in and wants to adopt a dog and they open the door and the first thing they smell is what we smell every day. It can turn people off real quick to turn around and walk back out the door. And then we're having a problem getting them in to continue to look at the rest of the building. They may make it through the first section where the little concrete wall is, the very original part, but they're probably never going to make it to the back section of the kennels if they can't handle the smell when they walk in initially. And that's a big issue. That's a big issue.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
In the next, 6 months or less, if you could come back and tell us how well these products are lasting for you.
Absolutely.
At our shelter.
6
Because
months.
then we would have what Thomas is saying, some sort of basis to say, well, it looks like it's breaking down to
Average
this
per
much
product.
per dog. Does that seem unreasonable?
No, that's perfect.
I can at least definitely give you,
$4,075. Apparently, we've been spending $4,075.
yeah. And I don't know how often they were previously buying the kennel saw,
I
because,
guessed at the average intake of the population of
Right.
our dog shelter.
Right.
and I've just taken over, so for me,
It sounded really good.
and now it's a little difficult to guess your average intake because now we have a dedicated animal control officer. So the intakes, from what I see, I don't know what they were prior, but they're pretty steady intakes coming from animal control.
Yeah, so, what would be a reasonable amount of time for you to be able to come back and say, this lasted, this other product
Well,
lasted, this other one lasted less, more,
I would
whatever?
probably be able to, in 3 months. I
3
mean, we're
months.
already in September now. Give me till December, and then I can say, okay, so hey, we went through this product way faster than I expected,
Yeah.
but this product, we still have this much of.
That's what I
And that would
was-
give, I think that would be, like, let me get the systems installed, let's start using it, and then I can just kind of guesstimate.
A lot of this stuff is new to us, so
Yeah.
and we don't.
Correct,
We're
sure,
having to
sure.
explore on the budget side of things compared to what we did previously. So.
Right.
So that's why, only reason why any questions are asked. We know the
Oh, absolutely.
importance of it. We're just trying to.
No, absolutely, and that's why when I did look at
Being
this.
good stewards of the taxpayer.
Correct, absolutely, and that's why when we initially had the meeting, the previous director had sat with me and she had said 2 ounces. I said 2 ounces, right, and she agreed, and then I went and actually looked online, and like I said, it should be 8. It should be 8 ounces of the
That's
kennel
4
saw.
times what she
Yeah,
said.
absolutely, so that's what I'm saying, that when I average the kennel saw by the 8 ounces of the 5-gallon bucket, it comes out to $2.44. So then when we look at all of these products that are coming from Remain, I averaged it to be $1.95 a gallon.
So at the end of
That's-
December, maybe you could present to us about how well it's doing?
And then by then, I'll also be able to monitor how many intakes are truly coming in. I know the Humane Society keeps track of their intakes as well, so that will give me more time to say, okay, so this is how many intakes are actually coming in from animal control.
And using.
And it'll help. It's just,
Okay.
with it being so new and just getting rolling, it's very hard for me to give you the answers I know you would
no,
love to
that's
have.
fine.
I'd love to be able to provide
No,
them
you're
for
doing
you.
fine. That's fine.
Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I
Oh, we
appreciate.
haven't voted yet.
Oh,
Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry, roll call, there was a lot going on there.
Davenport.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yeah.
Wilcutt.
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Golden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Road Supervisor Kelly Wilson. I forgot him last time. I'm gonna bring him up this time.
I'd like to get permission, I got some prices on a salt box and spreader for the new truck. It's got the flatbed, so we need the V-box and spreader to go on.
It's a ton truck.
1 ton.
One we just got.
It's actually a little bigger than a 1 ton, isn't it?
Huh?
It's a 450, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
little bigger.
F-450.
Ton and quarter.
One quote. or two?
Ton and
That's
quarter.
4
Sure.
in there.
Okay.
But I hope you'll go with Emco, because that's the salt dog. We've already got one, and we got a lot of spare augers and parts that'll interchange.
Yeah, Salt Dog's ahead of the game, and plus Mco's in Madisonville, which is
Yeah.
45 minutes away if we ever need anything.
If we need any help with anything or anything, they're at Madisonville. I stapled all 4 of them together. I think Boss and Salt Dog were the
And
2.
it's a plastic system, so it's not.
Jason over spitting all kinds of stuff. He needs to see it.
Is it in stock? I mean, it don't matter now. It's no.
Yeah, they said they could get it within 2 weeks.
Just trying to gear up for winter. How many truck-mounted blades will we have now?
How many what?
Truck-mounted snow plows will we have? Sorry.
Well, we got the big truck.
Right.
And then we got 2 pickups.
Correct.
So actually, we got 3 that can put out salt. But by this, that'll give us 4.
That'll give us 4 with
This-
plows and salt
So
boxes.
is there any difference between this one that's on this page and this one on this quote?
They're both the salt dogs. Yeah, one's from Tractor Supply and the other is from Emco.
So here's one from Emco, here's one from Tractor Supply, here's one from Trailer Sales, but it's a Boss,
Yeah,
and then here's one from Paris Supply. Paris Supply is cheaper.
yeah, they're all 3-yard, they're the same.
Okay. So the $7,421.
Yeah, they're cheaper than Emco.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not paying Emco, I mean, they're $600 more.
Yeah,
They're charging you $300 shipping. Shipping's free with this company, and their base is, Emco is $76.92, and Paris Supply is $7,421.
But you said you had parts that would match some of them.
yeah, long as it's,
They're the same unit.
yeah, long as it's
Jason's
a
just
salt
saying that
dog.
Emco's in Madisonville,
They
so
both say the Pro 300, don't they, Jason?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is it approximately the same product?
it's the same product,
Well, then,
yeah. Plastic V-box.
okay.
the Paris supplies at Paris, Tennessee. or something.
I didn't see where they were at, it was just like a website deal, I don't know.
The V-boxes are just so much better than the dump beds,
Easier to control.
because you gotta stop, you know, and raise your bed to get the salt in the spreader. And you don't wanna stop down around the lake, you know. I'm
A
sorry.
lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna,
You see anything different, Jason?
there ain't nothing.
All right, make a motion.
Huh.
Paris Supply, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, whatever.
the only thing.
Long as it's a salt dog, that's what
Yeah, and as long as their lead time, I mean, we don't wanna wait 6 or 8 weeks and be behind the ball, so.
yeah.
That's,
we
I
got
would
it.
make my motion to approve the quote for 7421 from Paris Supply as long as the lead time is reasonable compared to the Encos.
Second.
That sounds good, good.
Okay, I have a motion from Jason, a second from Thomas. Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call.
Davenport,
Yes.
Logan,
Yes.
Wolfett,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Holden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes. Anything else?
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Kelly.
Kelly. Ginger Lawrence, do you have anything? No, sir. Ginger has nothing. Denise, you said you had nothing. Nathan, Solid Waste, Nathan Cockrell. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just as far as, just for me, just wanted to remind everybody the tire event coming up next Friday, October 6th from 8 till 11 at the road department. 15 tire limit and 2 semi-tires. It is the road department on Peyton Street. I get that question a lot. It's not at the state road department on Nashville Road.
What's the date again?
Next Friday, October 6th.
From 8
So,
till 11.
and do want to encourage folks, no repeat visits. I get a lot of that. A lot of folks want to try to cheat.
Show up with a hat on and a little fake mustache.
You get it all. You get every bit of it. Every bit of that and some.
More tires.
And to your question, just briefly, you asked about the process for dumps. I'd be happy to send that to you. It's in an ordinance. It's all kind of put out.
Thank you so much. I should ask you first.
And I'll be glad to send that to you if you'd like to see that.
Yes, there's some questions still,
Okay.
about the other one, and so that would be wonderful, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Sure. I will send that to you. Were there any other questions on?
Did you get a chance to go to a demo?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I'm working on that. I'll just put that. I talked to the resident. I'm the owner's a separate person. I'm talking to them too. So, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you're driving down the road and you can look off the road a couple 100 foot and you can see a massive pile of tires, is that within our jurisdiction to do something about?
Depending on how big the pile of tires is, yeah. The state usually recommends about 100 tires as the limit where they really start getting interested and creating issues on that. So.
All right, I'll get with you.
Okay.
You got people that are doing that?
No, just an old tire pile.
He wants to know how many tires he can pile in his yard.
And in the spring, we are going to take unlimited. We can take all those tires and get rid of them. So, and based on the email that was sent out earlier by Tyler, I sniffed out an issue I'd like to comment on. So,
Sniffed out an issue. Thank you.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
We'll take a few minute break. Let's be back here at 10:40. Thank you. Scott. All right, if we're ready, let's return back to session.
I thought that's what you were asking.
Next up is judges' announcements. I'll go ahead and read these while everybody's getting settling in. The Logan County Archives will be open for research and tours of the old jail and jailer's residence at 278 West 4th Street, September the 30th from 8 to noon. No appointments necessary. The Logan County Clerk's Office will be open Saturday, September the 30th from 9:30 to 12 for vehicle licensing and renewal tags only. Red River Fish and Game Club annual fish fry is this Saturday, beginning at 4 p.m. at the James Lake Road in Adderville. Encourage you to visit there. Let's see what else. Countrywide outdoor warning test alert will be October the 7th. I don't have a time for that, but October 7th. So if weather allows, they will be doing a test of the outdoor warning system. October the 8th, Isaiah 117 House expansion meeting, 3 p.m. at Southern Heights Baptist Church. I encourage anyone that's interested in that to visit that. October the 6th and the 7th, Adderville Fall Festival begins at 12 on the 6th and continues at 10 a.m., 12 p.m. on the 6th and continues at 10 a.m. on the 7th. The parade lineup begins at 10:30 and the parade begins at 11. October the 7th, Auburn Party on the Square. They present Livewire in concert at 7 p.m. Backwoods Grill and Carriage House Vineyards will be there on site. And the one I was told to make sure September 30th, the Colonel Benjamin Logan chapter SAR will hold a service for Patriot Christopher Ornduff at 2 p.m. at the Ann Hummer Cemetery on Shaco Road. A lot going on September 30th. I hope everybody can make it out to take care of that. Let's move on to reports. I don't think we have any reports. So citizen participation, I don't see anyone in the audience. So we're going to move on. We have no old business, so let's move on to new business. New business item number 1, approve the county clerk's claim for preparing tax bills for the year 2023 in the amount of $2,709.15.
So moved.
Second.
That was hard.
Well, I'm getting there, so it's easy. Will you sign it and get it notarized, and then I need it back?
I'll get it right back to you. I have a motion by Thomas and a second by Jason. Sorry. If no other discussion, roll call, please. Stacy?
Davenport,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Wolcott,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Ball,
Yes.
Golden,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
For anybody curious, I thought it was pretty cool, so I thought I'd point it out to you guys. Last year, we had 17,899 bills that went out, and this year we are looking at, well, it's on.
18,000.
Yeah, so we got a few more. We sold a few more properties.
Well,
Last year we were at 17,000. Hold on. It's difficult when you're looking at the same exact thing here. 17,899 bills. We are now up to 18,000. What is it? Tell me again.
18,051. So that's 152 more bills. Would that not have to, like, in order for the bills to go up, something would have to be subdivided, correct?
Yes, I mean, we didn't create new land, but I
Right.
mean, somebody took a piece of land, subdivided it.
Divided it.
Took a parcel of land and put a, house on it.
Into separate, yeah.
Probably.
That's just
That's just your property, yeah. Well, now that's tangibles. That's gonna be, yeah, no, it's not just property. It's your tangibles. It's not anything to do with motor vehicle. This is all the property, so it would be the property tax bills that are fixing to go out, but it is also your tangibles as well.
Last year we collected, it was 18.7 million.
Yes.
And this year it's 19.4.
19.4.
That's what we're expected to, or that's how many the value is.
Yeah.
Neat.
A lot of money.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just need that back.
Next up, item number 2, discuss whether the current level of county revenue bonds and the tax collections for previous years are deemed adequate for risk. Amanda, do you have anything you want to add to this?
So what we're doing there is, so during property tax collection, the sheriff's office has a substantial more money than in their bank accounts than typical. This bond is basically a revenue bond that you can increase to cover that additional 3-month period when their collections are the most. The cost of doing that in previous years has been quite a bit. And so several years ago, the court decided that they thought that the amount of bond that we have in place is adequate for the risk that is presented at the sheriff's office. So we have not done that increase in that bond. But we just need to decide, I guess, if we're going to look to do an increase in that revenue bond, or if the court currently deems that the current bond level is adequate for the risk.
And the current bond level is?
$1
how
million.
much? $1 million. And we had requested that the sheriff's department they can disperse monies every day, once a week. I mean, I understand you don't want to create a bunch of work for you, but you don't need to wait. And I got $12 million in the bank, and I'll disperse it 2 weeks from now. When you start seeing your levels of deposit approaching your bond limits, you should be dispersing your monies.
We try to keep it dispersed. It's a little more difficult to do with especially the first month being, they generally are having to work Saturday or even 3 or 4 hours over in the evenings just to get that day balanced and caught up. So if you try to do that and then disperse, you're talking a 16-hour day almost to do all that. So we try to do at least twice a month, but it's still exceeding the bond limit. I mean, you would literally almost have to do it once a week maybe, but again, it is a lot of hours after that they stay over, and then usually a Saturday or at least 2 Saturdays that month of October they're having to stay over, because what happens is CoreLogic and all the mortgage companies will send in millions of dollars of checks, and they have to be, we have time to work on them, so they'll work on them after hours or Saturday, as long as they're in the 5% discount month. We have a little time to do those, but again, when you factor in the balancing of that day, doing those boxes of bills that come in, it's really hard to be able to disperse like we really should, honestly. And it's, I do have a third staff member. That'll help a little bit on the hours where they stay over and do those things, but I mean, just to be honest with you, it would be extremely hard to do a disbursement like they want us to do.
So they're getting some overtime hours doing that. Do they want those overtime hours? Or do you think they look for those?
They kind of do. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of work, and they're very tedious about it, but, they kind of like their extra hours.
Because what I'm saying is that, if we were to up the bond and to take some away their overtime hours, I mean, I'd rather give them the money than to pay more money to a bond company. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and again, though, the overtime comes from just keeping up daily. It would increase the overtime just to spend, honestly, they would have to do it on the Sunday. Literally, Samantha would have to probably come in on the Sunday to try to disperse that week, because that would be the only day she could do it, honestly. From staying over till 5 or 6 o'clock during the week to some Saturdays working half a day,
trying to stay caught up just so that Monday's not as bad as that. So, I mean, it would increase the time. Honestly, if you ask them, they would rather you increase the bond. It's still going to not alleviate much of the overtime, but if we have to disperse weekly, it's going to add more overtime. I mean, it's a lot of pressure that first month of tax.
I guess.
I'm fine with increasing the bond, but we just don't know what it costs. If we had, so if you double the bond, do you double the cost?
It's gonna be the bond for the 3-month period. The last time we checked, which was a number of years ago, was over $8,000. And I feel like that it's probably more in the line of probably, I would say 10 to 20 grand.
And I understand that. That's a lot of money, and we'll just keep
For a
doing
3-month
what we're
period.
doing the best we can.
That's what we have now currently, I
Yeah,
think.
this is fraud, this is a
Yeah, that's
bond
our
for
current
fraud,
bond
so
level.
if somebody were to steal the money and it's at his department, it's insured up to $1 million, so that's the reason I've always said the sheriff's department should, and this is proceeding, Steve,
Oh, yeah, no, it's
you
a
should
issue
disperse the
every
money,
tax season.
weekly, if that's what you gotta do, keep it under $1 million, if you keep your checking account under $1 million in it, you're always insured. And the problem is that month of October, everybody's paying the discounted rate, and I know I'm making it sound simple. I don't want to make light of it, but the school tax is you could just write the check to the schools, and that probably keep you under your limit because that's where a lot of. But anyhow, you reconcile every week, in the month of October, or twice a month in the month of October, and then boom, we're good, or maybe November as
It's a
well.
battle every tax season.
With that said, at the bank, you have to increase your collateral securities for the bank anyway during that time frame. So at First Southern, the money that's in the bank is already gonna be collateralized for that higher amount of, because I do that on a daily basis. I watch what all of the county bank accounts are and ensure that we have enough collateral securities to cover every dollar that is in our bank account. Because you have an automatic $250 in FDIC insurance, but you have to also watch those collateral securities too. So at the bank, you have that level. And so this is.
But that wouldn't cover fraud.
Right, that's at the bank. So
Yeah.
this is kind of separate
That
than.
would be default of
That's
any
right.
financial institution.
Exactly. So your money's covered while it's at the bank for anything that happens there.
Right.
So
We're just
what
talking
we've
about
done
fraud, that's all.
is we generally try to do 2 disbursements in the month of October, which are big disbursements. We also increase, like on our checks and everything we do now, it's a 2 signature step, so we've increased, that
Liability there.
liability that the auditors pressure on. So, our audits have always been really good, but it's, we're going to continue to disperse twice a month. That's, if somehow we can do more, we'll look at doing that.
Stephen, along the lines of what Thomas, I think, was asked or suggested, that maybe it's not possible. Can you cherry pick the disbursements, or do you have to disperse everything each time you do it? Because like he was saying, like if you
the
paid
school
your
tax
school,
is the biggest one. I can answer it.
I'm just curious if you did that week. If you did the schools weekly, does that help you? But maybe that's not possible if you, from a bookkeeping standpoint, that would cherry pick one entity.
Yeah, I'll ask her. I think we can, but for some reason I'm thinking that the way we do our reports, that would create, like you're just doing this now, and then she has to basically do it twice at the end of the month stuff. So, and she said no, everything has to be done simultaneously, each district.
I just thought that was
Yeah,
that's
no,
a good idea.
It is. I've been involved in the tax system since I've worked here, and it's an every year thing, and it increases tremendously every year. So I don't, again, the third staff member has helped tremendously on our audits with our fraud security, but
So was there a
We definitely
suggestion?
shoot for twice a month discretion.
Was there a suggestion of what we should do from an auditor or?
Do we know what like counties are doing as far as their bond limits for this at all, or anything?
The auditor, is that the question?
Huh?
What was the question?
Like, what similar counties are doing for this particular?
I'm not sure what other, of course, if you ask the auditor, they're gonna naturally tell you, they want you to buy that increased county revenue bond.
We're here because they said we needed to, if you all weren't going to do it, you all needed to note on the record that you felt comfortable with what the number was.
Okay, so that's how this comes.
That's why.
Correct.
They want us to have on record that we are aware that the sheriff has got more money in his checking account by far than what our bond limits are. And we've always handled that by saying, sheriff, write a check multiple times during the month to keep your liability under our bond limit as best as possible. You know, obviously a deposit's going to come in for millions of dollars, and he can't process it in one day, you know, but he's always wrote multiple checks throughout the month to get the money out of his account. Which makes school districts happy, right?
Yes.
You know, I mean, he doesn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to write Logan County School a check.
Chromebooks ain't
Second week of October, you know, but I'm sure they appreciate him doing that.
We usually try to do about that time. The first week is slammed, the second week's about the same, but a little less, so then we try to dump that second week. And then we try to do it again.
Ready to sniff it out.
So the $1 million bond we have now goes towards covering a portion of this, right?
Fraud, they give you cover $1 million for fraud.
And so the worst case of October is $4 or $5 million.
No, it's double digits.
Because you said you take in
Well, I say double digits.
Said 19 million, so.
I think you had said once before that over 50% of the people take the 5%
Yes,
discount.
yeah, it's a lot of tax money coming in.
Well, we
So,
do
I
that
mean,
every time.
Right.
total
Close to
budget's
$10 million.
19, so honestly.
50% of the people take the
But if he
5%
dumps it
discount.
twice.
Then it's 5, basically.
That's right.
Logan Lumen's alone is over $1 million, and it usually comes in the first week or the first month. So you're talking 5 to 10 million.
You got all the people that pay last minute.
Well, they pay the first week and they pay the last day.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
But I will say, for a lot of counties, I found out at the sheriff's conference, they're not starting collection until November. So Logan County, the citizens of Logan County get a month of 5% discount and 2 months of face value.
Yeah.
Where some counties are only getting 1 month of face value and then they go straight into penalty phase. So maybe that helps people feel better.
Kinder, more understanding county.
Yes, we are.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing in that. Yes, yes, good for Logan.
So we just need to acknowledge that we're aware of the level could be a risk, but the sheriff's handling that.
So moved.
Second.
Have an acknowledgement from Thomas and a second by Tyler. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Davenport.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Wilcutt.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes?
Bolden.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes. That's all the new business we have. It's probably the shortest one we've had as far as new business ever.
Oh, we can keep dragging it out.
We have no reason to go in executive session, but that moves us to post agenda.
I've got a smelly subject, and it's not Thomas. So I sent everybody some information about, there's a state KAR, 401 KAR 53010. It deals with ambient air quality standards, and I was just doing a little research on how we can battle, as a county, what we can do and what things that could already be in place that we could use to battle some odor issues that we have in our county. And, you know, it's just, we've been kind of kicking it down the road just because, you know, there were some improvements made, and but things have gotten worse again. But I guess my question to the court would be, if we have a way of, or maybe Joe can help me with this too, if there is a KAR in regards to air quality standards or ambient air quality standards, and it's defined in the KAR, if you look at that attachment I sent y'all, or if you did, you know, odors has so many, a mixture of 1 volume ambient air to 7 volumes, and they have a certain measurement, and they have devices that measure measure odors. And, I sent a video of the way the state of Kentucky does it, using called a nasal ranger, and it's around, that device is around $3,000 to $4,000 is what I could find to have in order to measure odors and how they're and whether they're in compliance of the KAR. So my question is, do we, in order to execute this KAR or try to handle that ourselves, because I think if it's reported to the state that we have an issue, you know, they're in Frankfurt or wherever, and they drive down in a day or two, well, in a day or two, it could be not a problem. So we kind of need to be able to go, and if we have so many complaints, go to that area and measure it ourselves. Can we then execute any kind of, the state mentioned that, I don't know if the state requires businesses to have an air quality permit, or if that's something that we would have to require for certain manufacturers to have like an air quality permit. And then as long as they're within the standards that the state has set in the KR, that the air quality permit stays active, and then it's only revoked if you have so many incidents of, you know, not being compliant. So, correct. So I guess from the legal standpoint and that sort of thing, Joe, I don't know if you can. I think I sent that to you as well, and so maybe you had a little time to think about it and process it a little bit. It was just yesterday.
I guess I was viewing this differently. I was thinking that maybe have you been talking with anybody from the state at all on this?
I've tried to contact them.
So you actually haven't?
I have not.
Okay.
I'll take that back. The Deborah, but she's with the waste side, so she got me. She forwarded my information to somebody that's on the air quality side at the state level. They have not gotten back.
I guess my thought would be if that were, I thought you were talking about us maybe at somebody's suggestion having a local enforcement mechanism, but you're more talking about us finding a way to enforce the state standards. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, I think we could still have our own local ordinance that kind of reference the KAR standards.
Well, I guess I would more think of it of whether we even need to do that, or whether we need to just work with the state people to enforce that, or see if we can enforce it on our own for, like you said, violations, because there would seem to be some penalty with that. So,
and I don't really know, and you're right, we do need to have a conversation with the air quality people at the state level, but I don't know what the state does as far as if they're in violation. We call them in violation. If they already have to have a permit with the state for air quality. I don't know.
I guess what I'm saying is it might be good for me to research this and then get back with you and see. A lot of times there's concurrent jurisdiction where things can be enforced at multiple levels, so we might not necessarily have to pass our own ordinance as much as we can just see if we can enforce what's on the books. And then if we can't do that, then we could look.
I think in the past a lot of complaints have been made to the state. A lot of, I think people have reported to the state that are already.
No, I got you.
But I think by the time they get here, it could be.
And that's why I'm saying, I wonder if we paid the money to buy this thing,
Yeah.
whether we could keep our records of it and turn those into the state to where there wasn't a day lapse. Because, I mean, I'm all for it because, I mean, how far do I live from that? It's a pretty good ways, correct?
You live past where Thomas lives, right?
Yeah. And I've had days where, I mean, it's at my house, like
You can
where.
smell it all the way there.
Yes, and like there's days that I can, like, one day it was almost, was gonna call Thomas, it was that bad because it was actually coming into my house with the doors closed. So I get the problem.
A lot of times, you know, I think it's avoidable, but I think because whenever we have a meeting or we have a conversation or we start talking about doing something about it, then it gets better for a while.
Yes.
So I think it's avoidable. I'm just not willing to not do I want to do something and not be like, oh, it's good for another 6 months, and then 6 months down the road.
Well, we want it to get good for 6 months, but we want to get our ducks in a row, so then when it
We
goes
want it
out,
to
we
be
have an
good from now
enforcement.
on, not just 6 months and then return
something
back and
to-
we have the same conversation.
See what I'm saying? Don't you agree?
I see exactly what you're saying, and I
It seems like
agree.
it's better for a while, and then it gets bad.
Yes. So to update on the current problem, I sent letters to the main people that have to deal with Russellville. They contacted me yesterday. I'd asked them to be at this meeting. Well, schedules get in the way. I have them scheduled to be here October 26th.
Okay.
To present to the to you guys and explain. But I do totally agree with you on some type of ordinance, some type of something. This is a continuous problem. They know it. They've told me that they want to fix it. But honestly, I'm not seeing any reason. I'm not seeing them do it.
I'm going to go with some kind of something because we don't necessarily have to have our own if we can do it another way. We just need something to be enforced. And I can look at to see, sometimes we might be preempted with certain issues, but it doesn't mean that we can't enforce at the local level what's out there.
Agreed.
So
You know, and I agree with what you're saying about go ahead and maybe taking those purchasing.
Well,
At some point, maybe purchasing, and when we get a complaint, go ahead and taking our own levels, as long as the state is willing to accept our readings.
I think the 26th sounds like a very good next step date to see
Agreed.
what they say. And
Agreed.
then I can also, I don't know that I'm going to be able to be here at the next meeting, first meeting in October, so I can have between now and then to maybe get an idea, and maybe I can get with somebody,
Absolutely.
have better luck than Tyler with somebody at the state, because it would be nice, obviously, if they've got regs that address it, they're in the best seat too, but
I think Nathan wants to address it.
Yeah, I'm learning patience over here, and it's a good virtue. Just wanted to comment on it a little bit. When you sent that, I did call up the guy I know from Division of Air that works. He works over here out of Bowling Green. He comes over here quite a bit for Logan Aluminum and Griffin and Carpenters and some of the other. He'll do some inspection. They do have I think it's a tiered type deal. Some industries have certain levels they have to meet, and other industries it's a little different, but they do have standards and permits they have to keep up. And he inspects those, and he commented a little bit on it as far as what other communities. Louisville actually had done something where they basically had a system where they had an inspector go out and just decided whether or not it smelled bad or not, and they said that was not a really good standard because there's no objectivity to it. That's what Louisville decided to do.
That's what, I mean,
Yeah. And so he uses, the gentleman I'm talking about uses the centometer like we're talking about here.
I told Tyler yesterday, we've got to do that if we're going to do anything.
Yeah, just the fiat, whatever somebody feels, this doesn't work real well. But the centometer, the setting on it, the 7-to-1, it talked about that. I think the lady in the video you sent talked about that. They combine it in with 7 parts good air and 1 part bad air. And if you get an odor from that, then it counts. But he says it's really hard to meet that standard, that Darpro has only violated it twice in about 15 to 20 years that he's been inspecting these. So, what's that?
So they've only violated that older.
It's a really loose standard, the 7 to 1.
I'm gonna say though, Tyler might have a point that when they get here 2 days later, that could be the issue when it's always getting, unfortunately, I mean, to me, it always feels like it gets here at about the time of close of business because I'm usually outside on my deck, which means I'm home, and nobody from the state is gonna come down and do that.
At that time.
Right. Yeah, the hours that it's most noticeable are the hours when, let's be honest, the state is not available.
And when the hours most people are outside.
They do that on purpose, you know, they cook at night, it's been a long time since I've seen their standard operation, but for years and years and years, they only cooked at night. That was the reason why. Everybody was home, they were in bed, and
I have people
when
on
everybody gets up, the smell is dissipated and nobody's complaining.
I have people on Coopertown Road that when it gets really bad, they can smell it in their house.
In their house?
In their house. On Coopertown Road.
Well, I can smell it in my office right down there on 3rd Street. And it's, and they've been
You can smell it in the courthouse here also.
Only a man would describe it that way.
But I've heard from him and other sources, it is a fairly loose standard, regardless, so it's going to be a little harder to meet than you might think it would be. But the county always has the ability to strengthen that standard, though he mentioned you don't want to then bring in, kind of loop in a bunch of farmers or people that maybe are just doing their normal thing, and then they get looped into this when people complain.
Well, here's the thing is, if we had our own, we would have to set some sort of, you go here to file a complaint and put your address and such, and you'd have to have, say, 3 to 5 complaints before we would dispatch anybody out to go do it. Because I mean, it could be if one person says, "Oh, I smell it," it could be, their toilet's backed up or something. I don't know. So you have it'd be, we'd have to have some standards.
How much is a centometer, and where would it be in reference to Darpro's location? You were talking about...
No, you actually use it's a device. It's a device, and you I don't know.
Oh, really?
I sent a video.
It's like catching butterflies.
Okay, well, I guess I didn't...
Run around. Yeah. Tyler will have to run around like
I'm sorry, I didn't get the details of that.
Yeah, so it's some kind of device some company invented that, and in the KAR, it references on how you can measure it and what's allowed, what technology is allowed to do the measurement.
So would this be like individual people buy this thing?
We as a government would buy this device, and it was around what I could find. I put my name in and my number for them to call me and tell me more information about it. But the Scent Ranger.
Scent Ranger.
That's what it was called, the Scent Ranger.
Perfect name.
What I found online was that someone just said it's after you do the training and the calibration and buy the device and yada yada, it's around $3,000. So, and that's just one.
Well, who would have that?
The company that sells it.
No, I meant if we were to have that here.
Have that? Oh, I don't know.
That would have to be somebody that, after you said like 5 calls, let's go out and monitor.
Yeah. Nathan's got a very good nose.
No. That was my question. I didn't know if, I would have to have a lot of training on it before I would, but yeah.
And that's why I said, we would have something in place that would say, okay, after this many complaints, because Nathan couldn't go out every time someone says, I smell something, what I'm saying?
That would be unending.
So it would have to be like, after 5 complaints or after 3. And it wouldn't take, if it was really the issue, it wouldn't take long to get 3 to 5 complaints if it was legitimate. But if Thomas had Taco Bell and that's right, you don't eat Taco Bell. But anyway, you don't want one person just.
But I would think a centometer would pick up depending on where you were.
That's right.
And you were saying that Mr. Ross and Thomas both can smell it at their location. Well, that's not going to pick up the same as somebody on Coopertown.
Right.
So the centometer is only going to be effective as far as where you use it. Yeah. And there needs to be a midpoint for the county if it hits that point, at that point in the county. Otherwise,
I know some people on
that's a
Pembroke County,
nightmare.
well, every time it's.
You really would need an expert or some kind of training on this to
Yes,
make
I was
this
just,
to
I can
work.
see that turning into a,
Correct.
Nathan's a very smart guy.
you're getting thrown in on this.
Yeah, that's kind of what, one of the reasons I jumped in. I'm just curious how
He's very
it was gonna
intelligent
go.
guy, and he knows his smells.
Tyler,
He knows his
It
smells.
is, yeah.
thanks, Tyler.
I think objectively, though, it's just important for us to gather that data. You know, I mean, if you have no basis of what this is, and, you know, some people may smell that and be greatly offended, headaches, nauseous. Other
That's-
people, like,
people do.
no big
That's
deal.
legitimate.
Right? So
Still
if you
have.
had a device,
Yeah.
whether guy was 100% trained, obviously he needs to know how to run the device, and we get accurate data all the time, every time, because state of Kentucky may say, well, you know, your measurement in units of 10, you come up with 7 every time. We say that's good, and somebody else says, well, no, it's not. We want to be 5 and below. We just need to start gathering that data, and then we would have a benchmark that said, according to this device that has been bought by a company that does it, and here's how they calibrate it. I don't know all the right terms for this.
No, you're
percentage.
Well,
I think you're within the.
We have our benchmark. Now, state of Kentucky may have a different one, Darborough may have a different one, Champion Pet Food may have a different one, Hills may have a different one. I'm sure they all have these devices, and they may, but we would have our own benchmark, and we can say, hey, the level we're trying to achieve is 5 and below.
Yeah.
And that gives us something to be able to set an ordinance, right?
Well, that
Correct.
would need to be
That's
in a location that could always be looked at as,
The location needs to move though, because
Well, the
this
location,
is going
yeah.
to apply to
Yeah, it depends
everybody.
on what direction.
You can't have it
the
set in one
wind blowing's
central.
gonna make a big difference.
Exactly.
So the end goal is we don't want to affect any businesses, you know,
Wanting to locate.
but we want citizens, it's quality of life around here. It's simple as that. I mean, you know, if you're a realtor and showing a house out somewhere, someone wants to move here from another county or somewhere else, and they're outside like, oh man, it's a beautiful yard, but what is that smell? You know, they're going to go look somewhere else, okay? And it's economically, it is affecting our county. We have to do something about it, and it can't get better for 6 months. Oh, we got it fixed, and then 6 months later, it's back to where we was. That's what we've been doing for a lot of years, and we've just got to get a handle on it. So,
Agreed.
Well,
sorry,
every step
I
of
just
that-
want to be updated.
Thank you, Nathan.
Well-
I like your telephone number
Well,
availability.
let's,
Thank you.
You want to?
I don't think we should do that just
Okay.
this moment. Let's work October 26th, as I said, is the proposed date that Darlene will be here with representatives. And I say we hold off. Actually, let's get a plan together before we start just spending money
Yeah, I got you.
on things.
I'm good. I just wanted to bring it up because
Is that the wrong date?
No, I agree.
Oh, is it 24th is the?
Do I have, is it 24? Did I look at the wrong date?
They'll be here to do a
Today's
presentation, is that what we're hearing?
24th is the meeting. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I picked the wrong. That's today. Well, I thought I did. My apologies.
Hey, we need a meal on 26th. I'll come on 26th. Talk about that.
The 24th. My apologies, October
No problem.
24th.
Okay.
I was looking at the wrong month. My apologies. October 24th is the proposed date.
Oh, boy, yes, sir.
All right.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So I would like to go back to the discussion of Chris's topic on the solar farm setbacks.
Yes.
I'm just going to give you my opinion. We don't have to discuss it today unless y'all just want to. Especially with, it seems like the county is going to move forward with pursuing zoning, and that's what I want to happen. But I also don't want to something that we may or may not want come into effect in the year it takes to do zoning. So Tyler and I have exchanged some conversations and text messages about the subject, and I didn't know if it would be legal and feasible to do like what Chris requested and have a expiration on that, that would keep us focused that we got to move forward with countywide zoning. I would support that. You know, if somebody said, hey, let's do the state minimum setbacks, we're gonna do that for a period of 2 years, whatever, 3 years, and then zoning should be completed by then, and that would govern or be
Or actually set it and then
into
expires
That's
when
possible.
zoning.
I'd support that too.
because I know there's a lot in the community that does not want to see more solar farms. And whether you agree or disagree with that is not for one person's opinion, but it is the court's job to make a decision on that. And if we do want to govern that, we should accept what Chris presented
Well, how about I make,
3 meetings ago. and
So are you saying we should put that back up for vote next meeting?
For discussion.
And then we
I
look
think,
at it
I
as
think,
what-
I think Chris, Thomas, and Tyler, you three seem to be pretty adamant on this. I think the three of you guys need to get together and come up with a valiant plan. What we're looking at, and then possibly once zoning comes in, we can pull this back out of it.
I think what I'm hearing is basically have first reading on the ordinance that was already done, but basically put an expiration date.
That's what I heard.
That's it.
And the only reason I'm saying that, Chris,
And I
we
get that.
gotta keep everybody
I mean, that's-
focused on moving forward. Not just, I took care of my issue, and I don't want anything else. That's
Well,
not fair to
that was sort of my concern
everybody else.
along is that, and I made that sort of point, knowing that Todd County is taking 9 months and they don't have done it yet, and she's estimating maybe a year, we could it could happen next month.
We'll bring it next month, and I'm happy to meet with you. I don't know about Tyler, but you tell me.
I mean, it sounds like to me we was gonna do it.
I think
I'm
Joe
saying,
needs
My-
to see if there's.
I would have a question is,
Ordinance
what is it
fine.
gonna be at the end of 2 years? That's what I don't understand with what you said.
I think we'd have to vote again to renew it.
Yes,
Or
we would have to
hopefully
vote
we
again.
would have planning and zoning to,
Well, I mean, there's
Replace
still despite planning and zoning, there's still going to be setback requirements.
Well, I think we would go back to the previous setback requirements, just because, say in Olmsted or in Adairville, there was another solar farm that come and all the neighbors around there did not want it, so planning and zoning would effectively, they would be able to voice their opinion, and the zoning board would be like, hey, these neighbors don't want this around them, we're not going to allow it. But say you go on to the other end of the county, over here next to Auburn, somebody has some acres, nobody around there, there's no houses around, nobody cares if you have a solar farm around there, the community is not worried about it, then that would give the zoning board the ability to say, okay, well, in this area, there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody is opposing to that. So
what he is saying, though, which I get your point, Joe, is if we say, hey, we're gonna do it at 1,000 feet
Yeah.
for 2 years,
State minimums.
then what happens at the end of 2 years? Does it go back to 500? Does
well,
it?
we're at 2.
It goes back to where we have it now, and then the zoning would take over and decide whether it was.
or we renew it.
Yeah.
If we still haven't
zoning's
done
not
planning
ready.
and zoning,
Right.
we could
That's
vote to
right.
just renew it for another.
And you could do it 12
I just wanna make sure it's legal. I appreciate you bringing that up, Joe, because I don't wanna do something and then, okay, what happened at the end? Now we all of a sudden don't have any setbacks, so make sure we word it right.
I mean, if I'm going to research this, I'll tell you what I would probably just go ahead and do it as, to say that you all are going to leave the old ordinance in place, but suspend it until such time as a planning and zoning board is set up. And until that happens, it's going to be the state. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
Well,
you all
that's
don't have to
basically
bring
what
it
you
up in
said.
2 years,
So-
that
so
it
maybe-
will remain until there's a planning and zoning board.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like that, other than, I don't know about the language about the other restrictions. I don't know, I'm not educated enough to know how our restrictions and the state restrictions line up. We're only talking about one issue, which is setbacks. What about the other things?
We can leave those in place.
We can leave those in place. We're only talking about the setback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris, how does
I'd be
that,
okay with
how does that line up with what you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so what I'm hearing is you're saying that you're suspending the setback language of our current ordinance.
I'm gonna make sure it's okay to do that, but instead of putting a time on it to expire, that it won't be a set period of time, it will be when planning and zoning gets here.
Well, I think that sounds great.
And
So that way you all don't have
setbacks
to.
get defined by current state
Right.
statutes rather than specific county language.
Right.
Correct.
Well, I think that
And
sounds
one- and one
good.
last thing that, Mike, that you need to think about. When we do that, somebody has to keep their ear to the wheel if the state changes it.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not gonna do that unless it.
The state's not
And I
gonna
don't listen to
change.
news anymore, so I ain't gonna hear it in the news. I'd have to hear it from Chris or somebody else.
I don't think they would change anytime soon. I
Yeah.
mean, if the tables
Well, you can
turn.
never tell, you know, somebody
elections
comes in there,
could-
lobbyists come in there and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, do X, Y, and Z. I kinda like the idea of we've said it ourselves. And I
Agreed.
don't worry about the state. But we'll work out some kind of
So
language.
Joe,
that'll
will
work.
you be presenting, something for us to vote on for that?
That would be my hope. I wanna make sure it's okay for us to
Yeah,
basically
what you
pause
say.
an
Well, I was
ordinance.
ready to second your motion. Did you wanna make it?
But yeah.
But as I said, I think it'd be good for Chris, since he's taking this more to heart
Well,
than
and he
anybody.
presented it,
Chris
and
kind of
ended up
take the
being
lead on
split
this,
vote.
and
So-
we'll go from there, and hopefully be able to present pretty quick.
Well, I didn't want that,
Send
that was
it.
that was a 4-3 vote.
Yep.
I think, you know, and it's not a dead issue. It's not like we was voting on buying a dump truck, okay? It is an issue that we still have to manage. We voted not to manage it that day, and I don't want to govern that way. We should readdress that and come up with a solution that works for everybody. And I think
Agreed.
the held back from myself, and I know Tyler, and I think Jason a little bit, I won't speak for them, was we don't want that holding up us moving forward with planning and zoning. And, you know, I think this would be a compromise that it gets our local community that doesn't want it some reprieve that, you know, okay, at least that's gonna be a little more difficult if somebody decides to do that. And also it keeps them engaged to have conversation and participate in planning and zoning. Right?
Agreed.
All right, we'll talk about it first reading next quarter.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Is there anything else for post agenda? If not,
That was funny.
I'll tell you what, I'll let you entertain the motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Yeah.
All opposed? Stay here. Thank you, everyone.